Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session on environmental studies. I'm Dr. V. Shubhapriya, and in this session, we are going to see about environmental pollution. So, environmental pollution. What is this pollution all about? It is the introduction of contaminants into the natural environment, which can be either through our routine activities or else through some other action which involves human indulgence. So, whatever substance causes this pollution, we call them as the pollutant. It is the waste material which will be entering into the air, water, or the soil and leads to contamination of that water body or else the land or else anything else it may involve. So, all the substances which can create undesirable effects on the environment is called as the pollutant. That which causes pollution is the pollutant. They can be classified based on many different criteria. Based on the origin, the pollutants can be classified to be a natural pollutant or else a synthetic or man made pollutant. And based on the effects which are created by these pollutants, they can be classified on an organ and species or else on the entire ecosystem based on the properties of these pollutants, based on how they are behaving, based on how they are appearing, we can divide these pollutants into the mobility phases, persistence, and toxicity based. And by the way by which you are controlling the pollutants, we can either classify them to be one which is ease or else which has difficulty in the removal process. The basic types of pollutants are generally we can classify them into a broad category as biodegradable pollutants and the non biodegradable pollutants. The biodegradable pollutants, these are the substances which can be actively broken down to a very simpler form and a non toxic form by the indulgence of the microorganisms. So, whatever the pollutant be, once it is entering the atmosphere or else once it is entering the environment, this kind of pollutant is capable of being acted upon by the microorganisms. The organisms utilize some substance which is available in this pollutant as their nutrition. They can work on these pollutants, they can break it down so that it is converted into a very simpler form that is no more a toxic substance then. For example, we can consider the domestic waste products, the urine or fecal contamination which is present in the water and soil, their sewage, the agricultural residues, paper, wood, cloth, all these become the biodegradable pollutants. So they can be degraded on a small time scale itself. And the next one is the non-biodegradable pollutants. These pollutants, they are not easily damaged by any microorganisms. They are not prone to a natural degradation process. Even if they are capable of being degraded, it takes about 100 or 200 years for them to get at least partially decomposed. So these kinds of substances, which includes the plastics, the pesticides, heavy metals like mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminium, and then the plastics, the radioactive wastes, all these are considered to be non-biodegradable pollutants because there are no microorganisms which can actively utilize these substances and break down immediately to a simpler form. So, the basic types of pollutants are either biodegradable pollutants or non biodegradable pollutants. Apart from these two ways of classifying the pollutants, there is another one which can classify the pollutants. It is based on how these pollutants are in the environment. So, we can classify them into stock pollutants or fund pollutants. The pollutants which are capable of having a very little or no absorptive capacity, they are called as the stock pollutants. Stock means that which can accumulate, right? So likewise, those pollutants which can accumulate in the environment over time, like the plastics and metals, these are called to be stock pollutants. They cannot be removed from the environment so easily. So there is a capacity for accumulation in the environment. And the other one is the fun pollutants. So these fun pollutants, they have some absorptive capacity and so they do not cause much damage to the environment. These substances, they have a capacity to be reduced over time. whereas the stock pollutants, they just accumulate on a time scale. Apart from these, there is another classification for the pollutants. This is based upon the harmful effects which are caused by the substances. One is the common elements, the toxic elements, and the radioactive elements. These are all the other types of pollutants we can see in the environment. You can see the 6 most common pollutants over here. Coming to the major types of pollution. Pollution can be classified into various categories based on various different characterizations. So, depending upon the sources of the pollution, they can be classified into either air pollution, water pollution, land or soil pollution, noise pollution, and marine pollution. This depends upon the sites which are being polluted. First is the air pollution. So, whenever some kind of harmful substance or a pollutant is entering our atmosphere, we call it as the air pollution. So, these air pollutions, the air pollutants or the substances which create pollution to the air, they can be divided into two basic categories: the primary pollutants and the secondary pollutants. The primary pollutants are those substances which are produced from the direct emission of smoke from the vehicles or else from an industrial process. That which is directly entering the environment is what we call as the primary pollutant. And when you say as the secondary pollutants, these are substances which are created by some reaction which is happening in the primary pollutants. For example, you consider the smog and all. So these substances are created because of the interaction between some different kinds of primary pollutants. So that which emerges from the primary pollutants is what we call as the secondary pollutants. So both the primary pollutant as well as the secondary pollutant are capable of causing damage to the environment. These are all some sources of emissions of air pollutants. The types of air pollutants. The primary pollutants and the secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants are those which are a direct result of the process and the secondary pollutants are the ones which are caused by the intermingling and reactions of primary pollutants. For example, we can consider the smog. The pollution standard index. This is a type of air quality index which is used to say you what the level of pollution in the air is. For example, when you consider many different busy areas and all, there will be a board which is displaying some air pollution index. So this is the pollutant standard index which is being displayed over there, and a PSI range of 0 to 50 is considered to be good, whereas that which is exceeding this is considered to be harmful or hazardous to the organisms. The effects of air pollution. First is acid rain. So this acid rain is capable of destroying the aquatic life which is present in the lakes and the streams. Apart from that, the chlorofluorocarbons, the CFCs, which is released from the refrigerators, the air conditioners, and the insect repellents or deodorants which you use, they can also cause severe damage to the Earth's environment. These gases, they have a slow damaging capacity on the environment, and it will also lead to depletion of the ozone layer. So once the ozone layer is getting depleted, there is global warming, which is because of the increase in the carbon dioxide content in the air. Apart from these, the ultraviolet radiations which are coming from the sun, this will be easily entering through the holes which are present in the ozone layer. If there is a depletion in the ozone layer, the radiation effect will be higher, and this causes cancer, mainly the skin cancer in wildlife and even in the human beings. The next kind of pollution is the water pollution. As the name says, when a pollutant is entering into the water bodies and causing a contamination, it is called as the water pollution. So this water pollution, it is a form of environmental degradation which occurs when the pollutants are either directly or indirectly discharged into the water bodies, and if there is no adequate treatment which is available to these harmful compounds and their removal, it leads to a huge problem. So this water pollution, it is capable of affecting the entire biosphere. The control of water pollution, it can be carried over by classifying the types of pollution into two different ones. One is the sewage and the other one is the industrial wastewater. Sewage is the one which is emerging from the domestic activities, domestic waste which are being generated. This sewage can be higher in case of the urban settings. Okay. When it comes to the sewage treatment in the urban areas of developed countries, this wastewater, the domestic sewage, is usually treated by the centralized sewage treatment plants. So all the wastewater which is collected in the sewage channels, they are being channelized to these sewage treatment plants, where these waters, which consists of mostly the organic substances, so these organic substances can emerge from whatever routine activities you carry over. So such a kind of substance, it is carried over to the sewage treatment plants, and there the water is being processed and it is being categorized into liquid waste and a solid waste. The solid waste, usually it is allowed for landfilling, and the pollutants which are present in these solid wastes, they are being treated in an effective manner, either by application of a microbial consortium or else by direct application of sunlight alone. These substances are allowed to be decomposed on a time scale, and after decomposition they can be converted into valuable products which can be either used as a substance which can lead to some agricultural fields can be applied with these kinds of solid sludges which carry so many kinds of organic substances, minerals, and many nutritive substances. They can be applied on the field so that the crops are benefited by the sludge which is deposited. But it has to be always taken care that once the sludge is being applied to the agricultural fields, the sludge has to be completely get rid of all the pathogenic organisms and the toxic substances which are present. Once the sludge is consisting of toxic substances and this is being applied to the field, what happens here is that the plants which are growing over that kind of sludge treated soil, these plants, they can absorb all the kinds of substances. They do not know what is good and what is bad for their body. So the plants can absorb even the toxic substances from the soil. Once they are absorbing, there is an interface between the root and the shoot. The plants, some of the toxic substances which are present in the soil, they cannot migrate from the root towards the shoot. They are stopped on the root itself. And if it is a rooty vegetables such as the tubers and all, the substances which are accumulated in the roots are capable of being present in these tubers also. And some other substances, because of their small size and that they can escape the barrier which is present between the root and the shoot, these substances can move on to the top of the plant. They can get accumulated because they don't have a salvage pathway. They can get accumulated either in the shoot or else in the leaf or else in the seeds of that plant. So once a toxic substance is being applied on the soil, it can lead to many different health hazards in the consumers also. Therefore, the sewage treatment plants take care that all the toxic substances which are present are completely removed from the wastes, and only after that they are being sent to the agricultural or secondary purposes. Next to that is the industrial wastewater. The industrial wastewater, it is considered to be one of the most hazardous ones because it consists of so many different kinds of chemicals and heavy metals which cannot be easily metabolized by the human body or else even by the microorganisms or any other kind of a plant. The industrial wastewater treatment is usually carried over in the effluent treatment plants. This is also centralized. So many industries are available in each and every area. These industries, either they have their own effluent treatment plants, which is leading to the zero effluent creation processes nowadays. Okay. So once these treatment plants are available, the industries by themselves, they treat them, they allow the wastes to be purified, and only after that they leave the water into the streams and other ponds or water bodies. Or else, if there is no such facility in that industry, if it is a very small industry, they don't have enough investment for that purpose, These industries, they send their wastewaters to the effluent treatment plants which are established in common. These common effluent treatment plants, we call it as CETPs. They are centralized, and these CETPs, they receive wastewaters from numerous number of industries. They consist of very huge systems which can treat bulks of water which is received from these industries. So in these effluent treatment plants, the water which is the wastewater, actually the wastewater which is coming to these plants, they are being sent through so many processes, and after final processes they are purified, and the water is either used for recycling purposes such as for gardening, or else for irrigation purposes, or else they are left into the streams after purification process. And here also, the sludge which is emerging, if it is free of toxins, they are sent for being used as a composted material, being used as a agricultural fertilizer, or else if it consists of some kind of toxic substance, they are usually sent for landfills and they are dumped in the dump sites. Next one is the marine pollution. Marine pollution is that which leads to harmful effects in the ocean. So the marine bodies are being polluted. This is majorly because of the industrial wastes, or else the agricultural and residential wastes which are emerging. So this waste, they carry loads of pathogens in them. The disease causing organisms, they are present in huge concentrations in the wastewaters which are emerging from the residential wastes, and agricultural waste is the one which carries the unused fertilizers and pesticides. This is usually because of the runoff which is created when there is a heavy rain. The water which is running off, it carries all the pesticides and the other chemicals applied on the soil to the water bodies. Through streams they reach the rivers, and from rivers they reach the oceans. So everything is magnified in a huge level, and once they are reaching the ocean, they pollute the water which is present over there, and this causes the marine pollution. Apart from this, the industries, they allow the wastewater to be mixed in the ocean waters. So this also leads to huge levels of pollution. And what causes this pollution is a different aspect. Apart from that, the pollution's effects, it causes a huge threat to the life forms which are present in the water. It can minimize the number of microorganisms which are present in this water. They can kill the fishes and other small organisms. The flora which are living in this marine environment, they are also affected. And finally, it leads to a bigger effect because some substances, they can accumulate within these within the organs of these organisms, and it is being eaten up by higher fishes, and these fishes, once they are consumed by humans, this leads to the passage of the toxins to the human body also. So under such conditions, human body is also highly they are also receiving all the kinds of pollutants which are present in the marine bodies. So this leads to emergence of many dreadful diseases such as cancer, or else kidney failure, liver failure. All these are caused by some kinds of chemicals which are accumulated in the marine pollution. In an indirect manner, these pollutants, they reach the human body and also the other higher animals also. Apart from that, air pollution is another contributing factor for carrying over the pesticides and other dirts into the oceanic beds. The causes of marine pollution. There are three major types of inputs to the pollution inside a ocean. One is the direct discharge of wastes into the oceans, and the next one is the runoff into the waters due to heavy rains and all, and the pollutants which are released from the atmosphere. Those pollutants which are in minute sizes, which are the particulate matter which is present in the atmosphere, after a heavy rain or else after a smaller period of time, these substances, they move to the land and the water bodies and get settled over these bodies. Once it is present in the land, it is carried over again to the water bodies by rain or other flooding processes. So ultimately, whatever pollution is, whether it is a land pollution or else it is a air pollution, all the pollutants are carried into the marine bodies ultimately. So this leads to marine pollution. if the marine ecosystem is incorporated with the pesticides which are be emerging from the runoff waters, and if it also consists of toxic metals because of some kind of industrial pollution, they are easily absorbed by the marine food webs. So from a smaller organism to a higher level of organism, these substances are being passage. Once they are being passed from one level in the food web to the next level, they are being accumulated and magnified. So this causes magnification of the pollutants and leads to devastating effects. Next to that is the oil spills. We can usually see the ships which are leading to these kinds of oil spills, and many different industrial activities also cause the oil spills. Okay. So these oil spills, they are toxic to the marine life because they minimize the oxygen available for these marine life. They'll cover the surface of the water, and this leads to creates an interface between the exchange of gases in the atmosphere towards the water bodies, and also the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons which are found in the crude oil. These are all not easily cleaned up by routine processes, and they are capable of being in the soil or in the water for a longer periods of time, and so it causes devastating effects on the water bodies. The marine eutrophication. The effect of eutrophication on the marine life can be studied by seeing that there is an increase in the chemical nutrients, especially those which consist of the nitrogen or phosphorus in the ecosystem. This leads to the eutrophication process, and eutrophication increases the plant growth in that water body. And once plant growth is excessive, it is beyond a certain level, this can consume all the oxygen which is present in the water, and it does not allow the exchange of gases in the water. So this leads to lack of oxygen in the water body. So the fishes and the other marine organisms which are living in that, they do not acquire enough amount of oxygen. This leads to reduction in the water quality, and this kills the living organisms which are present in that marine environment. Another problem is acidification. The oceans, they are considered to be a natural carbon sink. They usually absorb the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere. Once the level of carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere is increasing, either because of some cause of global warming or else because of any other reasons, if the carbon dioxide level is increasing in the atmosphere, automatically as this carbon dioxide is entering the water bodies in higher quantities, the oceans become more acidic. So once the pH of the water is reducing, once it is getting more acidic, the organisms, the organs which are present in these organisms, the aquatic life, they find it to be very toxic, and the organ systems are being um, destroyed because of this acidic condition. So the organisms tend to die because of the acidic condition which is created. The next kind of pollution, one which is very commonly seen, is the land pollution. This is any type of destruction which can cause the soil to be polluted, and this can be a one which is contributing either to the air pollution or else to the water pollution also. The land pollution can either occur naturally or else because of human activities. For example, the industrial developments which are happening every day, the agricultural developments, mining activities, deforestation, or else the overcrowded landfills. So, all these are causes which can lead to huge land pollution. These are all man made. When it comes to the natural factors which lead to land pollution, it is the soil erosion which is caused, and this also includes the volcanic eruptions, the changes in the rainfall pattern, earthquakes, topographic changes, the wind or glacier movements. All these are natural factors contributing to the land pollution. Human activities leads to a number of problems, and among these, waste generation is one important thing which is created by human activities. So there are so many kinds of domestic wastes which are generated, and loads of toxic wastes are being released. Radioactive wastes are produced, industrial wastes, especially that which is emerging from mining activities, and next to that is the agricultural waste. These are all some sources of land pollution. The effects of land pollution can be seen in many different forms. One is it can lead to soil erosion. It can also lead to low yields in the crops. This is because once the soil is being polluted, the crops do not get enough amount of nutrients which are required. And the soil pollution can also kill the microorganisms which are present in the soil. This microbial load, once it is decreased, it can lead to infertile conditions in the soil. Once the fertility of the soil is decreased, there is no nutrient cycling. If there is no nutrient cycling, ultimately crops do not get enough amount of any kind of nutrient that it needs. So this leads to low yields. And the fertility of the soil also, once it is reduced, it causes the soil to be very hard. The percolation capacity of the soil is reduced. The water holding capacity of the soil is reduced. So, all these contribute to low yields in the agricultural fields. Next to that is the desertification. Because of lack of capacity for the soil to hold the water, there is no probability for crops to grow on this, and it leads to desertification process. And there is a very less land for cultivation, because all the cultivable lands are being polluted and they are used for land filling processes. The next one is the noise pollution. So, this is the one which is created mostly by human activities, and this also leads to maximum number of disturbances either in the physical life of a person or else in the psychological aspect of a person. Noise pollution is one of the major problems India is facing nowadays. The government of India has so many rules and regulations against the usage of firecrackers, the loudspeakers, but these are not being properly enforced. And so, all these are routinely practiced, which leads to huge amounts of noise pollution. The um, noise pollution is measured in the units of decibels, and it is denoted by dB. The noise which is more than 115 decibels is tolerant. The causes of noise pollution. One major cause of noise pollution is industrial activity, and apart from that, the poor urban planning, transportation and construction activities, social events, household gadgets, all these are causes of noise pollution. And the effects of noise pollution can be in many dimensions. One problem which is created by noise pollution is the problems which appear in the hearing capacity of a person, the sleep disorders, cardiac problems, effects on wildlife. All these are something which you can notice when noise pollution is higher. This chart shows the decibel scale, and the threshold levels of hearing can be seen in this chart. Pollution control. So, pollution control is one thing which is very important for the management of the environment. Once there is emission of some kind of pollution in the environment, and this may either be in the form of air pollution, water pollution, or soil pollution, there should be some measure which is taken to control the emergence of this pollution. So, some of the routine practices which are carried over are the recycling of the waste, reusing of the waste, minimization of waste generation, mitigation of the waste, prevention of waste generation, and the composting processes. The polluter pays principle. This is one principle which states that the person or the institution or industry which is creating the pollution has to take its own steps to minimize the pollution level. That is the polluter pays principle. So, the person who is creating the pollution is responsible for minimizing the pollution level and recycling of those wastes also. This is the polluter pays principle. The Central Pollution Control Board. This CPCB of India is a statutory organization under the Ministry of the Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which was established in the year 1974. This board, it will conduct periodical environmental assessments and they conduct various research which will find out what are all the effects of pollution and how the pollution can be controlled. So they are responsible for maintaining the national standards under a variety of environmental laws. The next kind of pollution is the thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is created by the increase in the water temperature, which can be a result of some kind of man-made activities. We can call them as anthropogenic activities. So because of these activities, mainly because of the industrial purpose roles, the water bodies get a huge now amount of water, high temperature water, and this leads to increase in the temperature of the water streams. Once the temperature is increasing even by 1 or 2 Celsius, this can kill the native fishes in that particular area, and they can also kill the plants which are living in that area. And then this causes undesirable effects because the food web is completely disrupted in the area. So the water which is used as a coolant in the industries, this returns a huge amount of water which is having higher temperature to the water bodies. Once high temperature water is released into the water body, the immediate change in the temperature leads to decrease in the oxygen supply and it affects the ecosystem's composition. The organisms such as the marine organisms or is the freshwater organisms, the fishes, the other higher organisms which are living in that area, they are usually adapted to the particular temperature range which is persisting in that area. Once there is a sudden change in the temperature, we call this as the thermal shock. This leads to killing of those organisms because they cannot withstand the sudden change in that temperature. The causes of thermal pollution can be either from a nuclear power plant, the industrial effluents, domestic sewage, hydroelectric power plants, coal fired power plants, thermal shock, deforestation, and soil erosion. These are all some causes of thermal pollution. The effects of thermal pollution is that the dissolved oxygen content of the water is decreased because of the availability of higher temperature water in that area, and then the fishes and other organisms living in that area, they usually migrate from that area because the conditions around are not favorable, and this also increases the toxin levels. The biodiversity is lost in that area, ecological impacts are huge, reproductive effects emerge, and metabolic rate of those organisms are also increased because of thermal pollution. The next thing we are going to see is about the solid waste management. Solid waste management is something which is ultimate for all the actions which are emerging because of the anthropogenic actions. There are so many different waste which are generated. Waste management is one of the things which is of huge importance in case of the solid waste generation and its disposal. The solid wastes, they are capable of being acting as a huge pollutant. They can go and block the water bodies, they can interfere in all the ecosystem activities, and they can lead to so much effects in the environment. The processes which are usually adopted in the solid waste management can be like open burning, the dumping into a sea, sanitary landfills, incineration process, composting, plowing in the fields, hog feeding, grinding and discharging into sewers, salvaging, fermentation and biological digestion. All these are some methods which are adopted for solid waste management. The biological processes for solid waste management, they include the composting process and the anaerobic digestion of the wastes. Composting is once a biodegradable substance is available, they are kept as heaps, and this allows the microorganisms or other soil organisms to work on these organic substances. They decompose them and convert into a rich organic soil which is capable of providing nutrients to the plants. And next one is the anaerobic digestion of the waste. In the absence of air, the microorganisms are capable of degrading certain kinds of waste. This is what we call as anaerobic digestion of the waste. And the next one is the chemical processes for solid waste management. The chemical methods include the ion exchange process, precipitation, oxidation, reduction, and neutralization processes. The most common forms which are used in the treatment of solid waste is the oxidation and reduction process and ion exchange processes. The sources of solid waste can be two different categories. One is the urban waste and the other one is the industrial waste. So these are all some of the urban wastes which are generated. Usually this consists of plastics in a huge level. Apart from that, the aluminum foils which are used. And next to that, the wastes which are generated from the sewers. All these are the urban wastes. These are capable of clogging the water bodies and leading to other different kinds of pollutions also. Next to that is the industrial waste. This consists of many different kinds of chemicals and many other substances which can easily pollute the other bodies such as the land or else the water bodies. All these can be polluted because of these kinds of solid waste which are generated. It consists of metallic substances, it consists of chemical substances which cannot be easily decomposed. The types of solid waste which are generated can be divided into three categories. One is the biodegradable waste, that which can be easily acted upon by the microorganisms and can be easily converted to a simpler form. Next one is the non biodegradable waste. It cannot be easily decomposed in a natural process. They take a very huge time period for the degradation process to happen, at least to initiate. Third category is the hazardous wastes. The hazardous waste consists of oil, which can create many different problems. It can also consist of the paints. It consists of some other acidic substances or else the pesticides. Many different chemical substances which are emerging from the industries, they contribute to the hazardous wastes in the solid waste. The problems which are created by the solid wastes, they are one source of pollution. Once solid wastes are dumped in the land, they lead to water pollution and also to air pollution. And this causes spread of diseases because many pathogenic organisms start to develop in this solid waste, and this leads to spread of diseases in that particular area. The rainwater, which is falling on these solid wastes, they take up all the contaminants from the solid waste towards the groundwater body, and this causes groundwater contamination also. You can see the sources of pollution and the groundwater contamination which is emerging because of that. Solid waste management. The major objective for this solid waste management is to minimize the adverse environmental effects and health problems which are associated with the disposal of the solid waste. The steps taken for management of the solid waste is first segregation of the wastes, collection and storage, transportation, recreation, reuse and recovery of the wastes, and treatment and disposal. These are all the steps which are involved in the solid waste management. Segregation process. Usually, the wastes which are generated either in the urban setting or else in the industries or any other hospitals or anything else, let it be, they are segregated into many different categories. That which can be easily biodegraded, that which is non biodegradable, substances such as glass, metals, and all are collected separately, and those substances which can be used for recreational activities can also be separately collected, so that all these are categorized and they are sent for appropriate processes which can lead to a utilization or decomposition of these wastes. The collection and storage of the wastes. So this is carried over either by a block collection method, a curbside collection, or else a door-to-door collection. The treatment and disposal of these wastes. This is considered to be one of the best options available because waste generation cannot be minimized in current setup. Once waste is generated, if there is some methodology which can be adopted for reducing and reusing the waste, recycling of the waste, or else composting processes, or vermicomposting technologies, incineration, or any other methods which can lead to usage of these wastes in a beneficial manner will be a much welcome one. Thermal treatment. This is a process which involves the usage of heat to treat the waste. So some of the methods which involves heat for treatment process is the incineration process, the pyrolysis or gasification, and open burning methodologies. You can see the different methodologies in this chart. The next method is the dumping and landfilling process. So this dumps and landfills can be categorized as those which consist of the sanitary wastes. So sanitary wastes usually emerge from the household setups such as the diapers and the hospital setups. All these consist of the sanitary waste. So landfills which are consisting of the sanitary waste, they have to be properly maintained, otherwise they can contribute to so many number of diseases. And next one is the bioreactor landfills and control dumps. All these kinds of landfills are having their own management technologies. You can see a modern landfill methodology over here. So there is a well which is nearby this landfill to monitor the wastewater, sorry, groundwater, and the trashes are collected from which the gas which is being produced because of the decomposition of the trashes, they can be collected separately, and the leachates which are emerging from the decomposition process of these substances, they are separately collected and they can be used or reused, or else they can be treated by a appropriate methodology. Next one is the biological waste treatment. As we have already seen, it involves the composting process and the anaerobic digestion process. So this is one cycle which shows you how the domestic waste can be usually recycled. So the waste which are collected at the curbside are usually collected by collection vehicles. They are sent to the yards. So these yards, they treat them by composting process. After the composting process is over, there is generation of a very rich organic manure called as the compost. So this can be utilized for agricultural purposes, and again it comes back to your garden in the form of a useful product. This shows the integrated solid waste management system. So, how these substances can be utilized and how they can be, whatever waste which is generated, how they can be converted to a substance which is very useful and which can generate energy in the long term. The next one is the disaster management. What is disaster? It is a sudden calamitous event which is bringing great damage or loss or destruction and devastation to the life and property. The damage which is caused by the disasters is not even being a substance which can be easily measured, and this can vary with the geographical location of that disaster, the climatic conditions of that area, and the type of the earth's surface which is involved. This disaster can influence the mental, socio-economical, political, and cultural uh, effects also. The disaster has so many effects in the concerned areas. It can usually disrupt the normal day to day life of a person. It can negatively influence the emergency systems, and uh, it can interfere with the normal needs and processes of human beings or animals, such as the food, shelter, health, etc. Some of the types of disasters are natural and man made disasters. Natural disasters can be caused either by floods, a cyclone can lead to a natural disaster, droughts, earthquakes, all these contribute to natural disasters. Whereas the minor ones, which are natural, are the cold waves, thunderstorms, heat waves, mudslides, storm, all these are minor natural disasters. The man-made disasters. This can also categorized into major and minor ones. The major man-made disasters are setting of fires, epidemic causes, deforestation, pollution which is caused because of the cultivation of aquatic organisms, chemical pollution, wars, all these are major factors. Whereas the minor factors will include the road or train accidents, the food poisoning, industrial disasters and crises, environmental pollution, etc. So floods, It is an expanse of water which is submerging the land surface. It is caused by excess water in a location which may be due to rain from a storm or else a thunderstorm or else a rapid melting of the snow. So this happens when an area of land is usually low lying and is covered with water. The causes of floods are that when snow on a mountain is melting, or else flood from water displacement is happening, such as in case of a landslide, or else the dam is broken because of some failure, earthquake is induced, such as that which was, earthquake induced tsunamis and all, a hurricane, or else flooding of the coastal areas because of tsunamis or high tides which are caused, and the flood that is rising and dropping rapidly. All these are causes of floods. So flood management, it involves the activities such as mapping of the flood prone area, the land use control. So here developmental activities will be minimized so that flooding is also minimized. Next to that is the construction of the engineered structures that which can withstand the flood forces can also be carried over in that area, and flood control which aims to reduce the flood damage including flood reduction, flood diversion, flood proofing. All these are some things which can be utilized for management of the floods. Earthquake. Earthquake is those movements of the earth crust which makes the ground vibrate and shake backward and forth. The shaking of this earth crust will be proceeding in the form of waves which are emerging from the center of the disturbance. And this creates longitudinal waves, transverse waves, and surface waves are the three which different types which are being caused by earthquakes. There are two forces which can create the earthquake. One is the tectonic occurrence. This is like faulting, breaking of rocks, raising or sinking of the layers of the earth, folding of the strata or vapor seeking to escape from the earth. And the next one is the volcanic activity because of the violent eruption and intrusion of ingenious magma which is emerging from the volcanoes. The cyclones. So this name was first coined by Captain Henry Piddington, the chairman of Marine Coast Calcutta, and this is derived from a Greek word which means a coil of a snake. So this is a meteorological phenomenon in which an area of low pressure which is characterized by inward spiraling winds that rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere of the earth. There are six major types of cyclones which are polar cyclones, polar low, extratropical, subtropical, tropical and mesoscale cyclones. So that's all about the environmental pollution. Thank you for listening.
Hope we were discussing about the environmental pollution and what are the types of disasters associated with it. And now we are going to discuss about disaster management. And what is disaster? Disaster is nothing but a natural or man-made event that results in some deleterious effects, that is widespread of human loss, loss of livelihood, and property of the people and the life of people, etc. And components of disaster management are that we have to be prepared in our life to manage all these disasters, because this arises without any prior notification to us. So it involves the measure to ensure that communities and services are capable of coping with the effect of disasters. And examples for disaster management preparedness is that the people should be aware and they have to be educated regarding that. Uh, while the occurrence of tsunami and all, we are not even aware that a calamity like tsunami occurs. We just know cyclone and other heavy pour of rain like that and all, and flood and all. But tsunami, we were not aware. So the future prediction of disaster has to be done by the scientist, and that has to be educated or made aware to the community who lives near the threat zones, like in the gray areas for the earthquakes, near the beaches and shore areas for the um, tsunami, and near the uh, perennial rivers, or the shore people near the perennial rivers has to be educated related to the flood management. And a proper warning system has to be given to the people by the local authority, and mutual aid arrangement for replacing their properties, their needed things in lives, etc., has to be taken. And some mock drill training practices has to be given, and out of 100 percentage, at least 25 percentage of people should be trained for the disaster management. And response, it involves the measure of measures taken to manage the disaster. In that anticipation moment, everyone has, are not unable to act according to that. So some of the forces from the armed forces and other NGOs and other trained people has to be kept ready, because everyone will not be ready to face the calamities that occurs. And after disaster also, we have to ensure that the effects caused by the disaster has to be minimized. This is the response. An example for disaster response is implementing the disaster management plan and setting up of medical camps and mobilizing resources and providing adequate shelter and sanitary facilities to the people those who are affected by this, and development of search and rescue team. The team rescue team has to be informed earlier. They has to be prepared uh, in advance, because uh, only the rescue team is solely responsible in all the calamities that has occurred, and they have rescued a number of people. And the next component is recovery. The recovery is can be done from the outside source, but the people has to recover themselves both physically and mentally, and it would involves the support during the emergency in affected areas, and the reconstruction of the physical infrastructures and restoration of economic and emotional well-being. That is, the physical infrastructure is, we have come across many calamities, and in that the well-known one is in the tsunami. Many people has lost their lives, and the government started constructing houses for them, and that is a part of recovery management. And many psychologists and mental health trainers went to the place of the people. They motivated them. They some lost their relatives, some lost their physical parts of body, some lost their whole property, everything. So to renovate their life, they also taught them some of the life activities and skills that would feed them, and some of the business ideas were given by the mental health practitioners, and these are all part of recovery. And examples for disaster recovery is a counseling program for those who lost their nears and dears, and restoring services as we discussed earlier, roads and communication links, and providing financial support for the employment and reconstruction of damaged buildings. Everything comes under the recovery part. And the next one is prevention, and it involves measures to eliminate or reduce the incidence or severity of the disaster, because the prevention itself can reduce half of the disaster impact that arises. If you are prepared, or if you are preventing with some of the you can't completely prevent, but to certain extent you can prevent. So we can prevent the habitation in the risk zones, and disaster resistant buildings can be constructed, and uh, easy moving and recovering of people by their nearby area can be taught to some of the people those who are interested in management. All these things are done basically uh, in the disaster affected areas. And the next is types of disasters. Types of disasters: natural disasters like earthquake, tsunami, landslide, cyclones, floods and droughts, and urban flood. But the major thing is, all these are natural, but somewhere we people are very much involved in this activities, because some of our continuous disastrous activities will lead to arise of these type of natural disasters. And man-made disasters like nuclear leaks, chemical leaks or spillover, terrorist activities, and structural collapse are two major types of disasters. And disaster management cycle key has two major phases. One is disaster management, and another one is post disaster management. pre is that has to be taken before the disaster arises, and post disaster is during and after a disaster, with the purpose to avoid a disaster or to reduce its impact or recover from its losses. And in this, as we discovered, the first one is preparedness, next one is response, third one is recovery, and fourth one is prevention or mitigation, everything. Okay. And the few major disasters that occurred in India in the past decades or past 2 decades are earthquake in the Kashmir regions of the avalanche, etc., and flood in the Uttarakhand, and earthquake in Uttarkashi, and flood in the areas of Assam and Bihar, because these areas are um, have a perennial river flow like Ganges, Brahmaputra, Gomati, etc. And these rivers, when the icebergs get melted and it moves out, the disaster takes place, or else because of the heavy rainfall, the flood arises. And the major one that we can't move out even after the past 40 years is Bhopal gas tragedy, and that is a man-made disaster because of some improper maintenance of the companies from the industry. Some poisonous gas evolved out, and that caused many lives, and even the babies born after that gas tragedy had some genetical defects. And flood in Mumbai, and earthquakes in the Maharashtra region, and tsunami is the major disaster we have seen compared to the all types of cyclones. And India's vulnerability to the disaster is India is 12% vulnerable to several earthquakes, and it is also severe earthquake. And did you people know that the we people we are residing in Coimbatore, and that Coimbatore region is marked as a grey region, which is more prominent or more prone to earthquake disaster. Anytime you can get earthquakes, we can say that we people from Coimbatore are safe. We are not exposed to any flooded rivers, sorry, perennial rivers too. Because of water flood, we'll get some losses, or because of the cyclones, and nothing will affect us. But the only more prominent and prone disaster to get for us is earthquake. Our Palghat region is marked as a grey region, and this is because of more drilling of earths for the sucking up of water reservoirs inside the earthen boundary. That is, below the soil, you have different layers in your earth, that if you are digging it for the utmost water present inside that earthy layer, then many scientists are terming that that is the reason. And you can take the water from the uh, earthy layer, but it has some limit. But we have uh, advanced that limit, so we are more prone to earthquakes. And 68 percentage of land is vulnerable to drought. Drought is nothing but you would have heard Punjab, right? Like that, you'll be very much in a desertification condition. You won't be getting or able to grow any of the crops because of the water scarcity. And 12% of land is vulnerable to floods, and 8% of land is vulnerable to cyclones. The cyclone vulnerable areas are mostly the seashore areas, and floods are said by the perennial rivers. And drought, because of Deforestation, you won't be getting enough of rain for that area, and the people who lives there dies because of drought and imbalanced food supply. And earthquake is nothing but it is caused by the abrupt release of strain that has built up in the earth crust. That strain is what I said, drilling of earth and making some. Uh, Imagine you have a tight packed container, and if you are making holes in between with a stick or a spoon, and you make some hollow zones, that zones will create some um airflow, or it make the rigidity less, so that creates some movement in the tetracycline plates inside the earth, and that causes earthquakes. And most zones of maximum earthquake intensity and frequency occurs at the boundaries between the moving plates. You can see that's because of the moving plates I said, right? In the you can see the map. In that, the black region is highly vulnerable, next is red, and next is moderate, and white is less. We people of Kerala and people in Tamil Nadu in the border of Kerala belongs to the moderate region, and highly prone region is the mountainous region of Himalayan areas, and some near the Rajasthan and Gujarat, the Aravalli range, and near the Sundarbans in the Bengal. And the highly prominent areas are Uttarakhand, in some of the places in Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh, and some near the Ran of Kutch in the Gujarat. And again, the most prominent areas, the seven sister states, that is northeastern states of India, because these are highly mountainous regions, and it has the easy possibilities of moving of plates inside the earthy region. And next one is tsunami. Tsunami has been derived from a Japanese term su, meaning that is harbor, and name means waves. That is, tsunami is a series of wave generated in an ocean or a sea, whatever it is, and that is also a disturbance caused because of earthquake or a volcanic eruption or landslide. That is the earthquake that occurs inside the ocean region. Okay, because if you imagine you have a neat balanced surface, once it gets cracked it form a hollow area, and if water is present above it, that hollow area will pull the water from the above surface, and with that force, if the water moves out, then highly big waves comes out, and it is termed as tsunami. And next one is landslide. And landslide is defined as the movement of mass of rocks and debris that is mainly because of deforestation. Because um, you can see our tropical forests are rich in trees and many other type of shrubs that have a very good and tight perennial roots that can withstand the soil and the tree. And if you are cutting those trees, that soil will become very loose, and because of that non rigidity, when the rain occurs, these soil in the hilly region and the rocks in that will not get any balance, so it moves out easily, and that is the termed as landslide. And the main cause of landslide is changes in groundwater table. The groundwater table also changes because of the loss of trees, because the trees play an important role in receiving the rainwater and storing it inside the earthy region. There is groundwater. Okay, and the heavy rains, that is flash floods, melting of snow, and warm weather, all these things, all the disaster are interconnected. Okay, When you cut trees, obviously you can't store water, because of that the temperature arises. Because of the temperature arises, your icebergs melt. When the icebergs melt, that moves down as the flood, and that will wash away all the plants and all the biodiversity in the down slopey regions of the hills. And the next one is cyclone. Cyclone is derived from the Greek word cyclos, which means coiling of snake. And cyclone is formed when a system of winds moving in a circular motion closes in toward an area of the sea with low atmospheric pressure. Um, when the pressure becomes very low, and because of that the moving wind moves in a circular motion in a faster wavelength, that causes some imbalance, and because of that you'll get highly more frequent winds that occurs, like washing away all the areas, and you also get rain because of the cyclone formation. And some of the keywords to remember in this are landslides, cyclones, earthquakes, smokes, and compost, etc. And for the disaster management, you have to again follow four keywords, that is preparedness, response, recovery, and prevention. These are some of the um, key things in disaster management. And the next one is solid waste management, because of this disaster, more solids are washed away from different areas, and that causes some problems, and how to handle that problem we are going to see. Okay. uh, we are gonna discuss about the solid waste management. First, what is waste? That is, waste is nothing but a rubbish or trash, refuse, garbage, the or junk that is that has no use, that is unwanted or useless material, or any materials unused and rejected as worthless or unwanted. And a useless material that has less profile or activity, or you can't consume it, that is the major reason. And all these waste are collected and dumped in a place, and because of these disasters, or because of the floods or whatever it is, it moves from one place to another place, and it causes some problems to the society, and that has to be taken in care, and that has to be managed. And some of the types of waste are liquid waste, solid waste, gaseous waste, animal byproducts, biodegradable waste, chemical waste, commercial waste, and biomedical waste, and bulky waste. We can term as liquid waste or gaseous waste. But even though in the liquid waste also you can find many of the solid waste getting accumulated. And The solid waste, it is defined as non-liquid or non-soluble material ranging from municipal garbage to industrial waste that contain complex and sometimes hazardous substances. And solid waste also includes garbage, rubbish things, and demolition of products and sewage treatment residues, dead animals, manure, and other discarded materials. And industrial and hospital waste is considered as hazardous as they may contain many toxic substances. And hazardous waste could be highly toxic to humans, animals, and plants, and they are corrosive in nature, highly inflammable or explosive. And in the industrial sector, the major generators of hazardous waste are the metal, chemical, paper, pesticide, dye, and rubber goods in the industries. And direct exposure to chemicals in hazardous waste are such as mercury and cyanide can be fatal in nature. And what are the urban solid waste? That is the solid waste from the municipal areas or the towns. The urban area is termed as urban solid waste. And municipal solid waste consists of household waste, construction and demolition debris, and sanitation residues from or waste from the streets. All those comes under urban or solid waste. And household waste that can be categorized as hazardous waste includes old batteries, shoe polish, and painting tins, medicinal bottles, cloths, all those pet bottles or whatever it is that is you're discarding from the house is termed as household waste. Even your kitchen waste, all the thing comes under the household waste. That is the waste collected in and around your house. And industrial waste is considered as hazardous as they may contain some toxic substances. They are hazardous waste, that is, it could be highly toxic to humans, animals, and plants, and they are corrosive in nature, highly inflammable or explosive, and they react when it is exposed to certain things. Because you know, right, we use many chemicals and explosive substances or metals in the industries. So those wastes contain all those hazardous substances and it is very toxic. And in the industrial sector, the major generators of hazardous waste are the metal, chemical, paper, pesticides, dye, refining, and rubber goods industries, etc. And hospital waste is generated during the diagnosis, treatment, or immunization of human beings or animals. That is the cotton, the syringe, the needles, all those things. Okay, and it may include waste like sharp soil waste, disposable discarded medicines, chemical waste, or any waste part of your body that is mm, some waste accumulated inside your body that is operated and all will be thrown out as a medicinal waste, right? And the main source for solid waste are domestic, commercial, industrial, municipal, and agricultural waste. The composition of a city waste is as follows, that is, paper, wood, cardboard, that contains 53 percentage, and garbage 22 percentage, ceramic, glass, crockery, that is 10 percentage, metals up to 8 percentage, rubber, plastics, and discarded textiles. And the increase in quantity of solid waste is due to overpopulation, affluence, that is material comfort, and technological advancement. Because of the technological environments, the e-waste is more, that is the electronic goods and the items we discard, right? We use it for the phones and the parts of phone, or some other like earpods, uh, laptop waste, or some repaired parts from your tablets. That is, tablets is nothing but the electronic gadget I'm mentioning, all those waste. And how to manage those solid waste that is collected. And waste management is the collection, transportation, and processing or recycling or disposal the waste materials, or monitoring of the waste material, whether it is recycled proper, or whether those waste are demolished properly. Because you think that throwing the waste from your house cleans your house, but imagine how many household in your area, all those house throws out their waste, and that is collected, and see how many waste accumulates, and that waste causes problem or issues to the other living things or the biodiversity in that habitat, the pet bottles, other nets, the all those waste that you throw, uh, the people in the nearby shore areas, that moves into the sea, and that affects the marine population to a great extent. And this term usually relates to materials produced by human activity, and is generally the solid waste are undertaken to reduce their effect on health and the environment. So 4R concept has to be practiced in order to manage the solid waste. They are refuse, reuse, recycle, and reduce. That has to be followed for the waste management. And instead of buying new containers from the market, use the ones that are in the house. Try to use the product that can be recycled. Don't use the disposable or one time usage materials. Kindly avoid yourself, kindly collecting the plastic bags. Kindly check, even if you can't avoid the plastic to a larger extent, but in some cases you have to use this. In that cases, kindly check whether your ppm limit of the bag is as prescribed by the environmental agencies of the government. That has to be more than 2 gauges, like that you have that is the thickness of the um, plastic bags has to be uh, followed in order to recycle them. And you also have n number of alternatives for your plastic bags. That is, you can make the bags from the waste materials that is collected from the sugarcane industries, that is baggages, molasses, from the tubers like potato, sweet potato, and tapioca. Everything you can collect the starch, and with the help of that starch you can prepare a biodegradable covers or packaging materials. Even you can use silver foils to a much extent. You can try to avoid the PET bottles and use uh, glass bottles. Okay, Tetra packs made of cardboards and papers. Like this, you can bring some changes from yourself. If a person changes, the whole household changes. If a single household changes, they may educate the nearby household, in that, like that, in the whole universe. Because we are not only the species to occupy this universe, we have n number of species, and our biodiversity has to be preserved. And no other country like India are using or taking their natural resources as granted. Yeah, you can term that we people are more in number and high count, but even though we are lacking some social responsibilities, so develop or inculcate the habit of social responsibility and treat it as your nation, as your universe, and do some beneficial effect that in the place where you survive for a certain or minimum period, because for a just for a 60 years of life of your life, don't put other habitats, other species, and the universe that has evolved for billions of years. And we have to first refuse to buy new items, though we may think that maybe pretty childish, but while buying a new item, just provoke your thought whether that item is needed or not, whether you'll use it or not. Okay, uh, think it not twice, even for 50 to 100 times, and then buy it. Do not throw away the soft drink cans or the bottles. Kindly cover them with the homemade papers or paint on them and use them as pencil stands or small vases, and kindly crush it and dispose it. If you are not disposing in that manner, it will be reused, and not those pet bottles are upon continuous reuse without recycling start emitting some of poisonous gases and some of poisonous substances, and the food stored in that containers will cause some infections, even some untreatable diseases like cancer. And even wealth out of waste is highly appreciated. Kindly try to bring some useful product from the waste product. And next one is use of shopping bags made of cloth or jute, which can be used over and over again, and reducing the generation of unnecessary waste. That is, even few people today have switched on to that mode, but many are needed to be switched on. And reducing the generation of unnecessary waste, that is, we can carry our own shopping bag, so we can try to avoid collecting some of the plastic bags and throwing here and there, because after 2 or 3 times we are not going to use even that plastic bag. So as like before 30 years or 20 years we were using the recyclable bags, right? You'll be using the frequent bags made up of some of the natural fibers and all, like the fibers from the trees of grass, or so from the grasses and all. You'll make a coir, and with that coir you'll make some bags, beds like that, right? Or mats that can be used. And carry a kindly carry at least a cloth bag with you when you're leaving from the house, because today we have developed the habit of seeing and buying. When you see it and you are attracted to it, you are buying that particular. So to buy that, kindly you can ensure whether the product you buy does not contain any plastic materials or plastic coverings. So if you are not supporting that kind of product, obviously the manufacturer will switch on to the reusable things. Okay, so you can reduce it by refusing some of the items. And I kindly advise you people, be the change for the society, and kindly keep all those practicing the reusable products. And even if the shopkeeper provides you a bag, kindly avoid it. No, sir, I have a reusable bag. I'll use it with it. be that kind of person. And main purpose of solid waste management is to minimize the adverse effects on the environment. That is 4R principle. That is what we were seeing. That is first is to refusing, that is refuse to buy the non biodegradable product, and reduce the use of non recyclable products at home or office, and recycle whatever product or the waste you have. Try to make some of beneficiaries out of the waste product you get, and reuse the recycled products, or reuse the solid waste to convert it into another useful product. And the steps involved in the solid waste management or collection of solid waste, disposal of solid waste, and utilization of solid waste. That is, you have to collect all the solid waste even in your office or in your home. Kindly try to avoid using ballpoint pen. You can use the pens made of metal or steels, that is the conventional ink pens. That will try to avoid use of plastic to a more limit. I'm saying in the context of the student area, what are the things you can minimize? Tried avoiding changes, many and many phone covers, all those things that you can practice in your life. You have different priority levels in the solid waste management. They are first priority, second priority, and last priority. The first priority is primary pollution and waste prevention. That is, it changes the industrial process to eliminate the use of harmful chemicals, and purchase different products and use at least less harmful product, and reduce packaging and materials in the products. That is, you can try to use the reusable packaging materials, and make products that last longer and are recyclable, reusable, are easy to repair. And secondary pollution and waste prevention is reuse products, repair products, and recycle it. That is what we were seeing in that 4R: refuse, reduce, recycle, and reuse, right? Same thing. And if you can't reuse, kindly try to make it as a compost, and buy reusable products and recyclable products, and encourage this kind of activity. And last priority is waste management, and treat waste to reduce toxicity. And you make if you are aware, kindly make the people surrounded by you, that is, these are the products some cause some toxicities to the humans and other habitats. So kindly avoid using those things. You can uh, make aware the people or educate the people surrounding you. And you can incinerate the waste that builds up, and bury waste in the landfills. For the If you are throwing out some of the degradable things which can be buried in your land, kindly you by yourself bury the waste in your landfills. Try to make compost out of it and use it for the your own purpose, and release waste into the environment for dispersal or dilution. That is, the waste that is released into the environment only has to be discarded or diluted, not as a solid waste. It has to be moved out. That is what, try to bring out some useful products from the products that you have already used. And what are some of the benefits of recycling? They are, recycling reduces global warming, reduces acid deposition, reduce urban air pollution, and It also reduces waste, solid waste disposal, and it saves energy, reduces mineral demand, and it also reduces the energy demand, makes fuel supplies last longer, reduce water pollution, protects species, reduces habitat deconstruction, and reduces mineral demand. And you have n number of uses when you recycle a product. And industrial waste, or the waste that is related to the oils, greases, and all the chemical items that is arise collected from the refineries, and chemicals like acids, bases, and suspended solids. And other thing, pulp and paper, that is dioxins and furans produced from the chlorine used in the bleaching process, and other gaseous emissions, and residuals and unwanted waste from the industrial operation. Industrial waste management involves collection, transportation, processing, or disposal, and managing and monitoring of waste materials, and typical techniques. And we can avoid the waste arising from the operations that is taking place in the industry, and waste minimization. And you can try to avoid the landfills and incineration. Because of incineration, the poisonous gaseous emissions arises, and deep well injections can be done. Landfills is disposal of waste by burying the waste, or it needs the land area in a more quantity, and the chances of releases are more. And deep well injection, the chances of leakage to the groundwater is another problem. And incineration is disposable method in which solid organic waste are subjected to combustion, and because of that, residual and gaseous products, and volumes of solid waste that is 20 to 30 percentage of the original volume comes out, and quite in a effective way. And landfill mostly contains the sanitary waste, and it can be completely degraded with the help of the microbes. The wholesome of microbial consortium can act on this landfills, and it easily degrades. And deep well injection, because we have different layers in the ground, right, below the soil. So if you are injecting into the deep well, it will pass on to different layers, it gets just purified, and those hazardous waste will move down the porous waste. And some after certain period of time, at least a limit percentage of those hazardous waste can be cleared. And the another advantage is those hazardous waste does not infect as left in the open area. And next one is solid waste incineration. And this one, the waste storage pit has to be done, and it has to be collected in material wise or based on the size of the material, and it is taken to the furnace, it is boiled and collected as ash. And you can because of the incineration, because of the flames, you can it can create more heat, and that heat can be converted to a electricity that is one of the usage from the incineration, which can be done in a proper method, and those fumes can be collected, and in that you can filter out the poisonous gases, and the useful gases can be collected in different cylinders that can be used for any other purposes. And wastewater from the solid waste, that is, first it will filter, because the solid waste contain all both the waste waters, the dumping solids, everything, right? Some can be converted to ash, and some first the solid waste are filtered, and that water can be collected, that can be recycled, and even that can be used. And the another some of the techniques that you has to be follow in your day-to-day life is rainwater conservation and other water conservations. That is basic thing that every human has uh, to grow with that kind of habit, because it is the need of the heart, that is using or a limited supply of water. Even the change of proper faucets or pipes that is not leaking can save liters and liters of water. That is not thousands or hundreds of liters, it is millions of liters. You can just save the fresh water from the usage of proper faucet and pipes in the households, institutions, organization, offices, and industries. And even a socialist, as a part of his social activity, he is providing fresh new pipes to the faucets where he found it's leaking, and he's doing it as a social activity. So you can preserve millions and millions of liters of water. And the next one is every household, whether the government is giving a proper implementation or not, but it is a mandatory culture of an human to develop the habit of constructing a rainwater harvesting pit in the area of the household where they live, in order to conserve water for their future generation. And these are some of the basic and n- need of the heart technique to improvise the lives of human and also the universe quality, to avoid all these disasters and to have a safe and happy life. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The unit 5. All of you can able to hear.
Ma'am, excuse me. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, PPT is not visible, ma'am. Have to enable the screen sharing. You have to present the screen, ma'am. It is not visible. PPT is not visible, ma'am. Share, select the option share screen, ma'am. No, ma'am, but the screen is not shared. Only your face we can see. No, ma'am, you have to choose that arrow mark in the screen for share screen. Only your face we can see, ma'am. No, ma'am, no. Still now it is not visible, your PPT. Only your...
Actually, I am sharing the PPT, but for me, it's now it's
No,
visible.
no, ma'am. Yeah, it's like your screen is not shared. Now only.
Yeah, now.
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay,
from
ma'am.
first
Okay.
you can continue, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. Sure. Okay. Good afternoon, students. Now, the Unit 5, we are going to see about the topics climate change, global warming, acid rain, and ozone layer depletion. And the next thing, which we are going to see about what is mean by climate change. Okay, the climate change is a long-term process that occurs in over a large area and is measured over a long period of time. And now the definition also we can say the climate change is also the average of many years of weather observation. Weather is a short term change of temperatures. For example, and now we are going to see what are the thing which will affects the climate change. How this climate change has been affecting. That it's been categorized into two category factors, that is abiotic factor and biotic factor, which affects the climate change. Abiotic factors which affects climates are latitude and ocean currents, topography, solar radiations, evaporations, and volcanic activities. For example, solar radiation only we are at present, we are facing the situations like that is high temperature, and what are the reasons that is also been affecting. Okay, so now the biotic factors that is which constitute plant and animals, and in that also affects the climate as what are the thing process means transpiration, respiration, photosynthesis, digestion, and decomposition. And next one, how this effects of the same thing factors are I have told you. Now in each and every factors I'm just going to give some example. Okay, if the earth is getting more warmer and warmer, resulting in changes that we can see in the picture itself, these are the effects of climate change. Glaciers and ice caps are now start melting due to the rising temperature of the earth, so these which leads to the rising the sea levels. Automatically when the ice start melting, the water level will increases. So what will happen now, these are the some examples at present I am showing in the slides. So the animals such as polar bears, okay, and the penguins, that type of that is animals and birds which are now becoming the extinct, that is called endangered species, they are going to become. So the glaciers are melting and they cannot able to live in that land because because of the water, that is ice started melting, so their survival is very difficult. This is one example for the effects of climate change. And next one is the global warming. Global warming is a very important thing which has been threatening all over the world, where you can see the increase in the average temperature of the earth near surface air and also ocean since the mid 20th century it has been started. Okay, that's why the government has been organized many awareness programs, and even the students, you have to also join in some of the NGOs and other organizations, and we also have to take some steps and preserve, and we also have to conserve our environment. This is very important thing. So the global surface temperature which increased, that is 0.74, that is greater than or my degrees or increase, that is up to 0.18 degrees Celsius. Okay, during the 20th century. Actually, now we are in the 22nd century, but here this is the situation in the 20th century itself. And now what will happen during the global warming means most of the observed temperature increase since the middle of the 20th century has been caused by increasing concentration of greenhouse gases. So which is because all these are result or the activities which is done by the human only. We are not taking care of our environment, and we are not so much taking the awareness of what are the results which we are going to be affect, and also the future generation will also be going to be affect. Okay, so the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation, cutting down of more trees, and global dimming, a result of increasing concentration of atmospheric aerosols that block sunlight from reaching the surface. If the sunlight is not reaching properly the earth, then what will not normally the photosynthesis cannot be take place properly. If there is no photosynthesis survive, and if there is no photosynthesis survive, and if there is no sunlight, then we cannot able to get the rainfall. Okay, so only our earth will become near the earth affect climate patterns, also the average temperature of earth atmosphere. Okay, that is the problem at present we are all facing. Global warming caused by some of the following activity. As I told in the beginning of the podcast, burning of fossil fuels to generate electricity in power plants will take it the and transport fuels such as LNG, also industrial processing, steel, aluminum, and the greases, Greek management. These are all the some of the causes which is for the taking place. Okay, so that the government is also taking many steps how to minimize this utilization, and as we are also a citizen of this country, we also have to have some of the responsibility. Okay. And next one is the same continuation of the causes of the global warming. Deforestation is the major causes for this global warming, where we are cutting down the most of the trees, and we are reducing the areas of the forest because for our utilization, for multi things, okay, building industry factories, and for the agriculture purpose. This deforestation is taking place. So when you're cutting down develop the area, massive deforestation could lead to a very less CO2 desert for the photosynthesis process. If this absorption of carbon dioxide is not taking place, then the photosynthesis cannot be able to take place. And that may leads to what no more greenhouse gases in the which will affect the whole biotic factors and also the complete environment also. So this is an example for the picture which you can see in the greenhouse effect. I think what are the things which is to which should not be happen. This is been happening, and which this leads to the greenhouse effect by their percentage contribution to the greenhouse effect on earth. The major gases are water vapor. Okay, that is which is taking for the 36 to 70%. Carbon dioxide is very important, that is also 9 to 26% only. Methane 4 to 9, and ozone, that is 3 to 7%. So all the contribution, because of this percentage only, now the greenhouse effect is taking place, and this leads to the global warming. And next one is what you can see the how the solar radiation and other things which is been affecting in the Earth atmosphere. And now the greenhouse effect is a process which radiant energy leaving a planetary surface is observed by some atmospheric gases called green gases. This is the greenhouse gases. This is the definition for the which I told already the greenhouse that they transfer this energy to another component of atmosphere and it is re-radiated back down towards the Earth. So this energy, this transfer energy is taking place. The surface which are near to oceans and sea, the temperature, when it is become a higher, then automatically the temperature will also be raised. It would be a direct heating by solar radiation only mechanism. There is a direct heating is being affecting. Some of the plants or even some of can able to be that is there is a tendency. If it is going beyond the tendency, automatically the temperature will be rising and sure we have to meet some of the side effects also. And next thing is the acid rain or acid precipitation. How this one of the major climate. As of we have seen two factors which has been affecting the climate. The first one is temperature, second one is your global warming or the greenhouse effect, and third one is your acid rain. As the name suggests, it's a rain acid rain. As the name suggests, it's a rain acid rain. Okay, it's about many concentrated acid like HCl, H2O4 like that. But here the rain becomes acid which dissolves in the water, which dissolves in the water to form a various acids. In general, about 70% of acid rain said that is dissolves into the water sulfuric acid. The rest comes from the various oxide of nitrogen, mainly NO2 and NO3, collectively called NOx, oxides of carbons. So these are the some of the gases when they are mixing up the rainwater, which we are receiving the acid rain, or otherwise we can say as this is also one of the cause of the climate change. And you can see some of the pictures as I told regarding the deforestation. The previous picture how this was very good, and when we are enjoying all these things, that is the previous 5 years or 10 years before. At present now this is the condition, you can see the deforestation. Okay, if this leads to more and more, we have to take a necessary steps to decrease this deforestation. If you are not caring about this thing, and we are the peoples where we are going to see, or we have to face a lot of side effects from this environment. And next one, acid rain. Effects of global warming. So the same thing which I told already. This acid rain also plays a very important. Severe changes in weather. The temperature of Earth has been rising to 14 to 57 degrees centigrade. So the rise in temperature was noticed by unusual weather in many parts of not only India, other countries are also facing this problem. It could rise the sea for island or low level forests. This I already told you also. The same continuation you can see. The impacts on ecosystem that which you have been seen in your second unit type. Living organisms also facing this problem. Living organisms for survival in that particular earth. Okay, that lives in ice or affecting temperature, which results in melting and decreasing the organism living in this area. Not only Iceland, other than dust, every whereas are the plants which depends upon particular ecosystem or the environment, each and everything will be affected by this global warming. So the layer of permafrost is melting, causing an island lake to drain into the ocean and killing the. And what will happen? Not only the animals and the other fishes which are living in that lake or ocean also will be drained, and that is also one part which we are killing that particular species, that fishes. Okay, so that not normally this automatically what will happen means the freshwater fish that and so these are the some of the pictures how the rise in sea level due to the melt Antarctic ocean. Automatically, the to show the this is of the immediately is been some of the part country be not global and this product this the chips consumes every one direction means if they're related to goods with little to 90 or manufacture. So when we make any product which we are going to use it, and after they use it, that we have to see to that see to that whether this is being properly reused, and that when you are using that product, that should be a quality one. It have to be have some useful also. At the same time, there should not be any side effects. After that, when you are disposable also, that we have to see any other environmental consequence should not be faced by the persons or the other organism, that should not have any impact. Okay, so now the next one I will tell you. Any material that is unused and rejected as worthless or unwanted is said to be the waste product. Okay, so what are the different causes for the consumerism? Means to an end, habitual consumerism, emotional regulations and emotional instability, early years pleasures and pains also. So here the two types of conditions of populations or under consumerism exist. Excess population pressure causes degradation of the limited resources. So because of one of the main reason is the population increases. If the population is started increasing, there is no limitation for the degrade. That is what will happen. We are degrading. Okay, we are minimizing the natural resources. So what is happening when we are utilizing the natural resources? There is no limitation has been formed. When we are not forming the limitations, what will happen? They are start reducing their count, and it will lead to a dramatic problems. So there is a absolute poverty, and because of these also there are other that is other problems are also we are facing. What other thing means? Absolute poverty, financial problems, undernourishment, and premature deaths are also be happening. Okay, as there is no proper food, and there is no the food which we are taking is not in a proper nutrient, which leads to some of the malnutrients. Also, what will happen? The health is not able to properly maintain, or we cannot able to go for a better medical treatment. These are also leading to the premature deaths. This occurs in for example, less developed countries. This is not, we cannot say for all countries, but these are all occurring in the less developed countries. Okay, so now what are the conceptions because of overpopulation is taking place? Means this occurs in more developed countries. More the consumption of resources, more is the waste generation, and greater is the degradation of the environment. If there is more consumption of resources, we are doing now, there will be more waste generation. Waste will be generated more. At the same time, where we have to see to the degradation of the environment also. So we are, what are the problems now? Again, I want to say the same thing only. How it is being created means, today many products produced are luxurious and are not easily not degradable. So they are called non-degradable, which takes year to decompose. High rate of consumption leads to pollution and waste products. So if it is not easily degradable or decomposed, what we can able to be, they will be stagnant in the earth, and this leads to a pollution. And because of the high pollution, we are facing other problems such as global warming, acid rain, and also we are facing the greenhouse effect also. Okay, now how to overall or how to solve all these problems? First thing, we need to control the population growth. And second one, consumption. Each and every citizen or the human being in this earth or the world, they have to know how to consume this natural resources and how to minimize this natural resources. Once we control population growth, the consumption, the rate would fall down automatically itself. Now, when we are using the technology, and with the help of the technology, we should stop at this stage some of the irrelevant and unimportant products in order to stabilize the environment and also to conserve our environment. and environment protection. Now the government has taken some some regulations and rules. The government has passed some act like Environment Protection Act. Now we are going to see some of the acts which has been government has been passed and government has taken into action. The Environment Protection Act, an act to provide for the protection and improvement of. Why we want to have this act? What is the utilization or what is the purpose of having this act? Because we have to provide a protection and also improvement of an environment. We have to improve our natural resources. So the government has passed some of the act. Now we are going to see what are the acts in that. Whereas the decision were taken at the United Nations conference on the human environment held at Stockholm in June in the year of 1972. Okay, which India participated to take appropriate steps for the protection and improvement of human environment development. Late Mr. Indira Gandhi, the represented India in this conference and voiced strongly before and after the his one person talked in the conference that Environment Protection Act in 1986 was introduced after the Bhopal gas tragedy. That is a big crucial environment problem we faced in the year of 1986. That is the Bhopal gas tragedy. Even now we can see some of the impact were in there also. Okay, so now what is the objectives to provide this Environment Act? Means providing for the protection and improvement of the environment and preventing environmental pollution in all its forms, to tackle specific environmental problems that are peculiar to different parts of the country. Not in each and every country they will face a different environment problem. We cannot say only one particular problem will be faced in all over the world. It's not like that. So each and every environment problem, we have to take some important steps, and also we have to know how to tackle the problem also. Okay, to coordinate the activity of the various regulatory agencies already which is exist. So when there are some agency already they are been working out, but we also have to see to that whether these agencies are working in a proper manner along with the existing, okay, along with the existing problems and existing technologies, and to appoint environment officer to check the environmental pollution such as pollution control board, other departments and all that, to improve the quality of life by protection of environment, establishing environmental laboratories where we can go for testing or diagnosing, okay, some of the chemicals or some of the side effects, whether these particular chemicals will have any side effects when after the recycling or proper treatment if it is come out of a factory or industries like that and all, and to protect the forest and wildlife in the country also. So the major role why this act, apart from all these few points which I told in the above sentence, apart from that we have to protect the forest and the wildlife, which is because they are the major role which is helping to maintain a good environment. Now what is the main reason for formation of Environment Protection Act? The same thing only, that few points again it is going to be continued. To provide the protection and improvement of environment in EPA article, that is specify the state shall protect and improve the environment. So now the government has passed the act, and each and every state that have some rules and regulations they have to follow and they have to maintain, and so that particular climate, that is the environment, can able to conserve in a good manner. Also to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. So now, as per the section 51A, every citizen shall protect the environment, not only the government, and each and every person, as we are the citizen of this country, and we have our own responsibility also. So now the environmental protection, EPA is nothing but Environmental Protection Act, is applicable to whole India, including Jammu and Kashmir. With all these objectives, the basic objective for the formation of Environment Protection Act was sustainable development. Okay, we have started with the help. We have been going for the development is being taken place. Now they say some of the pictures which the pollution is taking place. You can see how the environment is being polluted. That emission from the vehicle and some of the smoke. See the how the factory, which is the smoking coming out of the factory. Next one, the drainage. That is the water, the drainage water, which is being mixing up the river and the lake. They are making some of the water is being polluted. Here the air is being polluted. This is also air pollution. Here you can see the cutting down of more forests, which is leading to the deforestation. And because of the emission, okay, which is the smokes coming out from the flights, cars, and even the electricity usage, all these things, also the noise pollution is also being created. Okay, these are the some of the different types of pollution which the environment is getting pollutant. And now, how the powers provided by the act to central government. So here, when we are talking about a country, it is been divided into major, that is national and the central and the state. Okay, so some of the act which is passed by the central and that have to be followed by the state. At the same time, the state government is also having the power to have some of the act. But here now we are going to see how the powers as made by the central government is being helping the environment to develop, to make rules to regulate environmental pollution, to notify standard and maximum limits of pollutants of air, water, and soil for various areas and purposes, prohibition of and restriction on the handling of hazardous substance and locations of industries. Okay, as I told previously, the each and every act they will have to have some rules and regulation restrictions. As such, we cannot open any factories and industries wherever we want to get into like that and all. So the each and every thing that have to be are the hazardous, what are the smokes or the other chemical substance, how they are being making any side effects to the public or the wildlife or the trees or the plants which are around the environment, that have to be seen. Okay, and also when you are building or when you are before going to start an in industries and factories also, that have to be finalized or the proper inspections and everything have to be done, and then only they have to give the permission to start the industry. So these are the some of the powers which has been provided by the Environment Protection Act. So these are the other things which I have to say, how we can consume our, or how we have to minimize our energy resources and also our natural resources. So alternative energy resources where we can maintain or conserve a rapidly diminishing fossil fuel resources by using the alternative energy resources. Instead of we are using electricity, where we can use some of the windmill, solar heaters or solar energy, and also where we can make it that water or the drainage water which is coming out of the factories and industries, that have to be properly recycled, and then we are mixing up the water where we can minimize or where we can avoid the water pollution, the smokes which is coming from the industries and factories. Also, if you are making properly, that have to be refiltered or that have to be recycled, that have to be recycled properly, also we can able to avoid the air pollution also. So here I have given some of the suggestions: solar power system for your home, if we can maintain, where we can reduce our electricity utilization, reducing the use of electric power, and recycling. Okay, that is a very important thing. Each and every, even schools, colleges, and factories, in also multi-storage building, everywhere we can use this recycling treatment, raising awareness. Okay, each and every person, as of, we have to have our own awareness. I should protect my environment, I should keep my surrounding clean, and I have to preserve my environment. Planting more trees, cutting down of the trees should be minimized as possible. We have to minimize, and we are cutting down now. We have to see where we can have more tree planting trees like that, and we have to reduce the wastage products. Choose energy efficient appliances, where we can, example, where we can use it LEDs, or where that is the that is usage of electricity, less electric appliances we can use it. So all this by we can protect our environment, and also we can have a good climate. Okay, students, thank you. Saumni ma'am. Saumni ma'am. Students, as now we have seen about the different this one, okay, how the climate has been changed, or the what are the factors which affects the climate change we have seen, and some of the pictures also I have shown you. So now just I'm going to make a summary of the thing which we have seen. Due to the technical issue, I cannot able to continue. Sorry for the inconvenience. One second, I will share this. Is it visible, students? Somebody, ma'am? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. And now we are going to start with another new topic from 5th unit of environmental studies. And I hope it is audible for everyone. I have little trouble in my camera, but I think it is audible. If not, you can put it in chat box. Okay, now we are going to start with the topic from 5th unit. Hope the slides are visible to you all. So now we are going to see some concepts related to human population and how this human population it affects the environment also. And here we are going to cover the topic on population growth and distribution, population explosion, and family welfare programs. So now first thing is, before getting into the topic, we should know about what is the law and order which were created for the welfare of human beings. So we should know about what is environmental legislation. It is nothing but they are the steps taken by our government and to protect our environment. So the action adopted by the government, and also it enact all the laws of environment in a justifiable manner, and it varies from country to country or a continent with a common goal to secure the nature and to give a sustainable living for each and every individual or each and every living species too. And this sustainable living means it covers all things like a balance between economic growth, environmental care, as well as the social well-being of each individual. So next comes the objective of environmental policy. So the main objective framed for an environmental policies are like it here we have given in a few bulletin points, like it should encourage the productivity, and also it should be very enjoyable and a harmony for man as well as that is human as well as the environment. So objective should be this is the first objective, and next objective is it should promote efforts and also prevent the damages which creates to the environment, also the other species. Collectively, they call it as biosphere, and also the health and welfare of man. And the third objective is it should enrich, and it should be understanding for all the ecological system as well as the natural resource importance. So these are the objectives they have framed to protect the environmental to create the environmental policies. So based on this, they started to bring out new law and orders for protecting our environment. So these concepts like environmental protection and pollution prevention, the main motto will be covered on all these keywords like rules should be framed, operation, framework to be implemented, and it should be monitored, and also the execution should be monitored, and all things should be drafted by the committee members. So only in that case committee members will be working properly, and they can achieve the objective whatever they frame for protecting the environmental policies. And next comes the environmental legislation in India. So we should know about some law and order, what they have brought in our nation for protecting our environment. The first one is protecting for water and resource. They have brought the water prevention and control rules in 1975, and also again they brought the new rule by updating it in 2003 also. And we do have a law and order to protect our air, and to protect from the pollution also, air rules prevention and control during the year 1982 and 1983. And next one is environmental protection act in 1993 and 1994. And next one is mineral conservation and development rules brought in during 1988. And conservation of forest, related to that also we do have law and order policies like forest conservation in 1980, the amendment up to 1992 also we have, and wildlife protection amendment during 2002. And apart from all these things, we do have other heritage to protect the ancient monuments. They also brought these law and order in ancient monuments and archaeological sites and remains in 1958, hazardous waste management in 1989, manufacturing and storage and import of hazardous chemical rules in 1989. So we do have these number of rules and regulations brought by our government. And these are the current amendments like a National Environmental Tribunal Act in 1995, and the amendment also made in 2010. It is brought for the compensation for damages for the person, and also for property or any damages which were done due to the environmental, which is caused naturally. And another amendment, new one thing is updated noise pollution during 2010 for reducing the noise pollution. And next one is National Green Tribunal Act 2010, and these act was brought for remedies for victim to control the pollutions. And next one is the Wildlife Protection Amendment during 2021, and this is introduced by Lok Sabha by the committee called the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. They have bought this bill for protecting the different living species which are going to be in extinct. So to protect that, they have brought this one. So till now we have seen about the number of law and order and legislation brought in India. And next we are going to see how the population it affects the environment. Population in the sense mainly they focus on the human population, and if the human population increases, what are the effects takes place in the environment. The first one is depletion of natural resources. So taking up all the resources in different way, like building in forest area, or taking all the forest area for agriculture also. It also uptaking the natural resources. The second one is degradation of environment, and conflicts and war distract the natural environment, and also global warming and climate change. All these things causes due to excess of human population and the human activities. So this activities increases, it is directly proportional to the human population also. What we can do for this? So Sir David Attenborough, he gave a statement like, instead of controlling the environment for the benefit of population, we should go like to control the population to protect our environment, so that our environment at present it should be available for the present generation, and also we have to prepare an environment a very good nature for the future generation also. We call them, it should be going in a balanced way. So for these things, the present generation they should be educated better to know about what is happening in our environment, so that the future generation also they will be getting protected. If not, if they take up all the natural resources in this generation itself, the next generation will be facing very badly about the water scarcity, about the pollution, about even the food production. It also comes down, so they will be affected even more. Even the climate change, everything, increasing the temperature of earth, all it affects the whole environment, and there won't be any normal happy living for next generation. So from this generation also, the students should students or each and every individual should be educated about how to protect the environment, and they have to take the steps immediately, so that this it will be protected. And also the providing access of family planning and services, they also know, should know about this, because now we are talking about how the population it affects the environment. What is meant by population explosion? It is nothing but rapid growth of the population. Because of this rapid growth, it will create a scarcity in water or even food, because if population grows, they need food also for the living. So in the food production which is very less, means immediately there will be famine, like it will create scarcity in food, and also due to that also death starts. Yeah, and there is an hypothesis, a theory thing we will be later seeing after these slides. It will talk about what are the number of checks can be taken to control the population, so that the food scarcity can be overcome in the future also. And here in the slide, we will be seeing about the percentage of population in the overall world, like 7.999 billion number of populations, human species worldwide. And this data is taken recently in November 2022 by committee, United Nations estimates elaborated with the help of Worldometer. And causes of rapid population growth. Like what is the main cause of this population growth increasing is they have given in very simple way, like the success in reducing the death rates, because in early days we find very difficult to get a normal medical treatment. But and their age also is very less. The maximum age, majority of the people living, the maximum age will be only near to 30 to 40. But nowadays it is very easy for the each and every individual to reach even to 60 to 80. It is all because of the success of medical and its technology. So this is one major cause of rapid population. And next one is increase in food production and distribution. Now it is very easy for us for producing. We have number of technology, like even a hybrid technology, or to increase the production, that we found we use research, and we are able to overcome the population by producing more food. And also distribution, it is also nowadays it is easy when compared to the previous generations. So because of that also the population growth increased. Improvement in a public health, etc. And our medical technology, we have already discussed about it. And what are the control measures can be taken? The first one is for taken for controlling the population, which should not affect the environment. The first one is education. So literacy, to tell about what is what about the human population and how it affects the environment. It should be educated to each and every individual. So that's why it started with the student first. And majority it should be more given to women, so that it will be easily spreaded, or those information will be given to the family. So more it should be focused on women also. And next one is government benefits. So government benefits, they have given, the government have brought number of benefits for the welfare of people and their of their people. But here also there should be an organized way, like uh, the benefits should be reaching only to the people who have very small families, or the people who have they find very difficult to have the basic resource. So they the benefit should reach to them first, not to all, but these people should get first. Next one is publicity. It's nothing but making awareness among the public. So importance of birth control measures, it should be given awareness. Easily accessible is media and social networks, so that through these media we can give them about the awareness about controlling the population, which should not affect the environment. The Indian scenario. So here we are going to see about the population in India. So world most populous country, our India. It is now it is very overpopulated. And at present they found out, like it is going, its population number is going to beat the overmost first place populated country. That is they have named it as China in an report. And the United Nations World Population Prospects, they have brought this number, like in 2022 it is 1.417 billion. It might reach increase to 1.515 in 2030. And they have found out, like every sixth person will be going they will be like an Indian, if it goes like this. What are the adverse effect of population explosion? What it causes? If population increases, what it causes? Resource depletion will take place. So all the whole land in world, it will be occupied, and it will be utilized, and environmental degradation will be taking place, and increase in waste production. If it is not managed properly, excess of waste production will start to deposit. And also pollution takes place in soil, air, and water. And this is what the theory I was talking about, like it is called as Malthusian theory. and it is proposed by Thomas Robert Malthus. He is an economist, and he gave an chart. He explained about the human population, and in this chart they talk about two main concepts to control over the population and how it affects. The two concepts is, one is positive checks, another one is preventive checks. If the population or human beings, we didn't start to stick on to the preventive check measures, it reaches directly to the positive checks. So what is meant by preventive check means to undergo birth control system or celibacy. If they didn't go for this, they don't have any idea about it, and if they are not controlling over the birth or preventing the overpopulation, if they are not giving a preventive check in this place itself, means immediately the population control will be increasing more. So in this graph, in x and y axis, they have named as time and quantity, and here in this it is an exponential phase where we can see the population increases, the time increases, but the food availability for this population, it is not increasing along with the population. It is still in very low in number when compared to the population. So how it is controlled, how we can how the population will be controlled means either by two ways. Either the preventive check is nothing but the human itself, they have to come forward and they have to initiate it for birth control system and everything. If not, they have not followed this preventive check means immediately naturally it goes to the positive checks. For example, disease outbreak, violence, war, food scarcity, or the fights, everything, which also kill people, and due to that the number of population comes down. So this is how it works, and this is how he explains about if the population of human, how it affects the environment, and it will be coming controlled either by these two checks, either by the preventive checks, it can be controlled, or else naturally positive checks will take place. For example, even natural calamities like floods, everything, even it kills the people, so everything, it also comes under the positive checks. So this is the concept about the control of human population. And next, now we are getting into human health and environment. So how human health is affected, and how the environment can be protected. So before we get into that, we should know about these concepts like human rights and the value of education. They should get awareness about what is happening surrounding them, like what type of disease is prevailing, and what protection should be made for the people who are not treated in equal, specifically the children, and also in women some places. And finally, we will be seeing about how the IT field, it is helping the environment to be protected, and also medical transcription and bioinformatics, how far they are helpful in protecting the people and also the environment. So you all know about the basic about what is uh, human rights. So here the environment and human health. Here the human health, good health, it takes place means only when there is a very good environment with very good healthy human beings in developed nations. So only in that case we call them as good environment. But if the environment is started to get polluted means it will start to affect the human health also. So human population, it also affects the environment. In the same time, environment is polluted means it will affect the human back in turn. And even not only human, in other species also it affects. And how it is affected means because of agriculture development, urbanization, industrialization, and also which creates an hazardous environment, and in turns it affects the human health also. So various environmental factors which are responsible for affecting the human health, we call them, the first one is overpopulation. We have already talked about it. The second one is pollution. polluting all the resources like air, water, soil, everything, and not going for reusing the concepts. It also pollute, and e-waste, if it is not properly managed, it also pollutes. And next thing is urbanization, and the final one is degradation of natural resources. So human rights, the definition of human rights, it's nothing but giving a basic facility for each and every individual to live with dignity. We call them as human rights. Each and every one have their rights to live with all the sustainable things, and also every individuals have the responsibility to protect the environment for the next generation also. So these are the characteristics of human rights. So inherent, universal, indivisible, and inalienable. So inherent is in the sense they talk about the essential. It acts the major part in our lives, the human rights. And universal, it is nothing but the human right. It is common to each and every individual present all over the world. And indivisible is nothing but it should be enjoyable, and it should not hurt them. And next one is it cannot be easily taken by others easily. So these are the characteristics of human rights. And human rights, protecting law, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Right, was brought in December 10th, 1940, and it is proclaimed by United Nations. And this rights brought for the protecting of human race, with to protect them from slavery, to protect them from food scarcity, to give them all the needed sustainable lifestyle to each and every individual in developing as well as underdeveloped countries. And apart from these are also number of acts brought during 1948 and 1966 for protecting the human rights, to bringing up in a strong concept, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International uh, uh, Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So to protect these social, economic, and cultural rights, and also the civil and political rights, all they have brought for these things. And next thing is the classification. Here the classification is each and every the classification of human rights. They have differentiated by these types. One is civil rights. It's nothing but people's physical integrity, that is safety. It should give safety for them. Next one is the political right. So individuals should be able to vote, and they should be very free to express their thoughts, and even they will be eligible for the election of a particular leader. And next one is economic rights. It is the right to work, right to own a property, and having a adequate standard living in a particular society. So this is called as economic right. And next one is social right. It is enjoying the benefits of all the scientific progress and its application. So these are social right. And next one is cultural right. They should be able to get into part in each and every cultural life too. So these are the key points. It will be covered in human rights. So each individual, they have the rights of cultural rights, social rights, economic rights, political rights, civil rights, etc. And now we are going to see about the value of education. So each and every individual should be educated with the importance of protecting the environment, and also they should know about what are the disease it's spread throughout the world. We can differentiate them as an endemic and pandemic. You all know about the coronavirus infection, how it spreads throughout the world. So that the individual should be educated through any type of media, so that is easily gets to them very faster as early as possible. So here are some examples. For that, they have taken this disease, that is HIV. You all know about it. HIV, it is nothing but human immunodeficiency virus. It is a viral infection. It affects our immune cell itself. Directly it affects our immune cells. Because of that, our immune response gets down, and due to that, all the susceptible, that is opportunistic pathogens, they will invade our system, and they will take over our mechanism, and they cause other diseases also apart from this HIV virus. Because of that, it leads to AIDS. We call them as acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So we don't have we don't have a complete curable state for this disease, but we have treatment to control the severeness of this infection. And here they have given data like world first they started to recognize about this disease from 1980s. And here they have a bulletin with the symptoms of AIDS. Like some of the symptoms they have given here, like flaky skin, chronic fatigue, fever, and diarrhea for weeks, and heavy night sweats, and rapid weight loss, immediate weight loss, and swollen lymph nodes, and also certain white spots which are seen throughout the mouth or throat or tongue. And diagnosis, it is available nowadays. HIV virus viral infection can be easily diagnosed with the help of PCR technique and also Western blotting technique. You must have all read about it. And the samples, type of sample collected for HIV, like fluids like blood, even urine, they were able to identify the HIV viral. And also even in some swab or fluids from mouth, they were able to isolate HIV. They were able to identify HIV viral infection. Next one is treatment. We have already talked about it. There is no complete cure, but treatment are available in combinations of different antiviral agents. We call them as antiretroviral therapy. And preventive measures, as you all know it, use preventive measures like condoms, and not to get infected by STD, that is sexually transmitted disease. And should not use any sharp materials, because they might cut the skin, and also this infected sharp materials, if it carries any HIV viral particles, means they can easily get into our system. The next important thing, awareness or education should be given related to women and child care, because they are mostly victimized in some of the places when it comes to capitalism or development or the environment. And because of certain things like they categorize them under weaker or helpless or economically dependent criteria. So number of initiatives are taken in India, and they were taken by Ministry of Women and Child Development, and also National Network for Women and Mining, and Mahila Mandals. These are steps taken in India for protecting, for educating or giving awareness for women as well as children. Why they are focusing on children means children, they don't some of the parts, these children still they are not going for the education. Still there is a child labor concept going on. So because to protect that also, the steps should be taken. And these are the initiatives for protecting both the children as well as women. World Summit on Children in 1990, Declaration of Rights of a Child by United Nations in 1959. And all these law, it mainly focuses on right to survival, right to protection, right to development, and right to participation. And what are the problems faced by children? These are listed out one, like child labor, malnutrition, lack of nutrition, or the specific nutrition is not given for the child to grow. and no education, because these are the problems. And even other disease like pneumonia, diarrhea, measles, malaria, these if there is no awareness related to this also, the children's next generation cannot be protected. And other things are very important things. Due to child labor, it is a hazardous place. Working in those hazardous place, they should know about what is hazardous one, and because of this it will also affect their health too. And these are number of NGOs, they have started for protecting the child welfare in the name of Action Aid India, Cry, Butterflies, Care India, and Prayas. And now we are getting into role of IT in protection of environment and also the human health. How they are helping in protection of environment is they are helping us to spread or create awareness so easy to each and every individual. We were able to come to know all the information which is happening throughout the world. It is all because of the help of IT and its development. And next one is the application, that is it reduces cost, increases the speed, and also improved in productivity, even production in uh, food production and everything, even in distribution of food, everything. And disaster management, immediately taking management, that is steps should be taken immediately after any a flood or any environmental disasters. And the next one is control over production and inspire environmental action, corporate responsibilities. Even each and every IT or corporate, they started to bring out the social responsibilities. They used to uh, um, use a particular percentage of their income or the gain of the whole company for the development of the society. So they also contribute for the development of society and also reduces waste. In the name of e-waste, they also reduce waste. These are number of articles related to protection of environment and also bringing out a greenery living. So they have initiated to reduce the paper, so limit in number of paper use, so that they bring e-bill technique and reduction of wastage. And also they brought e-cycling, that is using um, the raw materials, that is the computer or the any hardwares which are which can be reused to produce a new equipment. So e-cycling also they have started to do it, and it should also be managed properly, otherwise it will also pollute the environment. So IT it plays major role in human health also. So they help us in producing biological equipment, so that this equipment will act as a diagnostic instrument which helps us to diagnose what is happening in our system, to identify the type of disease. Easy friendly techniques they have brought it. And controlling disease, making preventing the disease and its spread by creating proper awareness. So this is also is possible only with the help of the development of IT field. And biomechanism and e-health, everything we have already talked about it. It's nothing but the development of nanotechnology, boats, or the delivery system. Medical field, it also developed with the help of this IT field. And also it also helps us to maintain the database, to study about the death rate and the birth rate, and also to maintain the immunization program schedules, everything, so that we can come to a conclusion like how far the particular population they are controlled, or they are protected by from a particular disease by proper immunization. So these database also were properly saved with the help of IT and development. The proper information and statistical rate about a particular disease is possible now with the help of IT field. And also a genetic information about a population or an individual, a medical records or a fingerprint of a particular individual, it all can be recognized and also saved as a database with the help of IT field. And one example about is bioinformatics. Bioinformatics is nothing but an interdisciplinary field where both biology as well as the computer science, they work together, and the statistical maths, engineering, everything comes together in bioinformatics. The main function of this bioinformatics is they study about all the structure of gene as well as protein molecules, and they try to bring a new drug. They discover drug. So with the help of bioinformatics, they study about drug discovery and everything. So these are the points we have seen today. Like the first, we started with how the environmental population, the human population, it affects the environment, and in turn, again, the environment, if it is polluted, how it affects the human health. So today we covered these topics, and everything is interlinked. Like here in this slide, it shows like the law and order, it should be properly um, worked out, and we have the committee members, they have to properly uh, check whether the law and order, everything is uh, under practice, and they should take the output from implementing what is the output which are created by this law and order, and they have to draft it, and they have to file it, and again they have to go for other demerits, whatever it's happening, they have to bring out solution for that too. And I hope you have understood the concept of these topics. If you have any questions, you can put it in chat box.